Hello, hi, and a very, very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which part of the world you're checking in from. I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. Thank you so much for joining me here today in day 3 of this ADSelfService Plus workshop series. Before I jump into the session plan for the day, I would like to do a very quick audio and video check. So if you can hear me loud and clear, and if you have no issues in viewing the screen, please drop in a yes message in the chat box provided. Awaiting a couple of confirmations before I can proceed further with today's session. Welcome back. Thank you so much, Jamie, Patrick, Jim. Thank you so much, Dennis, Tom, Steven, Jeff. Perfect. Thank you so much. I do have a couple of confirmations, and I believe the audio and video is all right. But a very quick disclaimer once again. I am continuing to work remotely. I'm checking in from home. And so if you have any issues with the audio or video at any point of time, please keep me notified. You all know how the home network can be once in a while. And that's the only way I can know if my broadcast is seamless, because with Zoom, I unfortunately do not have an audience view as a presenter. That said, in case things get out of hand, if I have a power outage or a network issue and I'm unable to join the session back again, please don't worry. I want to very quickly remind you that we will ensure a copy of this particular session reaches your inbox within the next couple of days. I will record it and send it to you. All right. I do see a couple of new folks who have joined us here today. So once again, a very warm welcome. Happy New Year to every single one of you. And thank you so much for taking time to be part of our online live workshop series. I'm Sharda Murthy. I'm a product expert in ADSelfService Plus. I work with the marketing team here at Manage Engine. And I've been the presenter for this particular series, where I walk you through how you can empower your entire workforce, and not just empower your workforce, but also secure access to resources with better password management, better password self-service, multi-factor authentication, and single sign-on. Talking about single sign-on, today is session 3, where I will be walking you through how you can establish one identity through password synchronization and single sign-on. This brings me to a very important question I have for every single one of you here today. I would like to know what part of today's audience who have joined me here today work solely on native Active Directory as your primary infrastructure, but also have multiple business applications in place, that is both on premises and on the cloud. Fundamentally, what I'm trying to understand is, do you have a hybrid work infrastructure that users have adopted to in your organization? If you've completely moved to the cloud, please let me know by dropping in the answer as cloud in the chat console. If it's completely on premises, if you still very heavily rely on on-premises applications, please let me know in the chat console. I'm waiting for a couple of answers. But yes, it's important, especially in 2022, as we have stepped into 2022, it's important for us to, I'm very sorry about that. It's important for us to work towards a hybrid infrastructure. The world is fast moving towards the cloud. That is something that we can all agree on, but it's also important for us to understand that on-premises infrastructure has been around, is still around. Nearly 80 to 90% of organizations globally are working in a hybrid infrastructure. So it's important for us to not only understand how hybrid works, but also try to establish a synergy. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 answers today. And all 6 of you who have answered have told me that you are working in a hybrid infrastructure, right? So that's almost 100%. 6 people have answered, and all of you are working hybrid. But that said, it's also important for us to not only understand how hybrid infrastructures work, but also make it easy for users to have a unified console to take care of password management. Since we are talking about ADSelfService Plus today, I'm limiting my scope to password management. But in other words, you need to ensure that there is a synergy between your on-prem infrastructure and your cloud applications as well, even when it comes to password self-service for end users, even when it comes to user identity management for administrators. And these are a few domains that we can help you with when we talk about hybrid, right? But today I'm going to focus on two very important aspects of establishing one identity, and that is password synchronization and single sign-on. Before I jump into the agenda plan for the day, it's a very simple, straightforward session. If you do have any questions, please keep them coming. Drop in your questions in the Q&A tab. I would love to take time to answer the question during the session itself. And if time is a constraint or if it's an issue that you'd like me to troubleshoot, I will also take time to connect with you offline. That said, there's one very quick point that I want to run through before I move forward with session 3. I do want to give a very quick recap of all that we've seen in session 1 and 2. Two very, very heavy sessions. We try to cover all the topics that ADSelfService Plus does in terms of user identity management in your on-premises in the first 2 sessions, right? So a very, very quick recap. I walked you through how you can enable password self-service for end users in your organization, how you can notify them about their password and account expiration, how you can also onboard users to make use of multiple self-service features that you have enabled for these users. But when we speak about self-service, security is definitely a priority. And this is what session 2 was all about, where I walked you through how you can enable multi-factor authentication across endpoints, which is your Windows and Mac Linux systems, for your OWA, your VPN, your cloud applications as well, and how you can enable multi-factor authentication for the ADSelfService Plus infrastructure or the ADSelfService Plus end user portal as well. I did walk you through the importance of conditional access, how you can enable conditional access based on risk factors or specific conditions for users and user groups within the organization. I did walk you through a customizable granular password policy as well, how you can enforce it across your Gina CP console and integration with Have I Been Pod. So if you could not be part of session 1 and 2, please don't worry. The entire series is being recorded and is being recorded live. So once we wrap up tomorrow, I will ensure that the entire playlist reaches your inbox within the next couple of days for playback for better understanding ADSelfService Plus. But today, we're going to move beyond Active Directory. I am going to walk you through how you can configure single sign-on for one particular application today, which is G Suite. I picked 2 applications that are pretty common, pretty widely used. One is G Suite. I'm going to configure a single sign-on for G Suite today, which is a mail account, a mail client that multiple organizations make use of. And I'm also going to walk you through password synchronization for your Microsoft 365 infrastructure or your Office 365 infrastructure. And yes, we will do this. I will walk you through the configuration of both and see how this looks from an end user's perspective. But I do want to start where I left off yesterday. So just to make it easy for all of you to better understand ADSelfService Plus, I'm going to very quickly pass on the demo link for you in the chat console. Please do access the live hands-on, to get a hands-on experience, please do access the link to our online demo. You will be able to log in as an administrator, no sign up required, no credential required. You will be able to explore the application along with me. And if you do have any questions, shoot them in the Q&A tab. I would love to take time to answer your questions. That said, yesterday, I unfortunately could not show you how multi-factor authentication works with Outlook web app. I went back, informed my colleague that I will be making use of this setup here today at this particular time. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope he has not disconnected the ADSelfService Plus connector. I'm keying in the first factor authentication, which is this particular user's native Windows Active Directory password. And on successful user identity verification, I should be redirected to the ADSelfService Plus multi-factor authentication page, where the authenticators that has been enabled for the administrative user will kick in. That is what you are seeing on the screen. Let me stick to security question answers. I'm answering I'm choosing to verify my identity with security question answers. I've entered the CAPTCHA, answered my security question. question and answer that it's easy for me to remember. I'm not trusting the browser because I use the same infrastructure again and again. So I do not want to, my bad. All right. So I did test this out. I honestly did. I did test it out and I was able to successfully log in. So this is not an authentication issue. This is a timestamp issue, and this is not something that I can fix right now because I do not have access to the server. I'm guessing it's a matter of few seconds, and that's where the issue is. It's very, very important to establish a sync. Once again, this is something that you can make note of and something that I need to work on. But what I did want to walk you through is how for OWA, for particular user groups and for the entire domain as well, you can choose to enable a secondary factor of authentication. You can choose to enable multiple factors of authentication before a particular user logs in to access their Outlook web app. All right. Once again, sincere apologies for the authentication clash because of timestamp, but that is also a great lesson because you need to pay attention to the ADSelfService Plus server timestamp syncing with the end user's machine. So swiftly moving on, I am going to jump to the ADSelfService Plus administrative page, log in as an administrator. I do want to remind you that I'm working with the default setup here today. I'm working with ADSelfService Plus just the way it would look when you get started working with the application, all right? So if you'd like to customize the application, rebrand it, I'm going to talk about that in detail tomorrow. I'm also going to talk about the important security features that you need to pay attention to. So we're going to switch gears and talk about all that the administrative tab holds, and that is tomorrow's session, the last session of this particular series. So a very quick reminder about that. But today we will stick to working beyond Active Directory, working with some on-premises and multiple cloud applications. Like I said, I have a big bunch of policies, self-service policies that I've created right here. I am going to jump to password sync or single sign-on. Just to make it easy for all of us, I have pre-configured the setup here today. But I am going to walk you through how you can actually do it if you are new to ADSelfService Plus, if you'd like to get started enabling single sign-on access to specific users or user groups, and you're doing it for the very first time. You can choose to filter out the action that you're trying to achieve. So let's start with single sign-on. Single sign-on is all about one identity. It's about ensuring only the right person has right access to the right machine. And with ADSelfService Plus, we make use of AD authentication as well as the ADSelfService Plus server authentication to verify user identity before providing access to more than 100 pre-configured applications that you see on the screen. Pick any application that you make use of and you can set up single sign-on. And we have made it easy for you. I'm going to walk you through one particular random application today. If you want me to walk you through a specific application, please drop in your message in the chat console. But that said, I also want to quickly remind you that single sign-on is not, restricted to the 100 plus applications that you just saw. You can choose to create your custom application. It could be on-prem or cloud-based application. It could be internal applications as well, as long as the application works based on SAML 2.0 authentication. All right. So any application that runs on SAML 2.0 can be enabled single sign-on access for from within ADSelfService Plus on-prem and cloud-based application, internal and external or public applications. All right. So let me jump back to, all right, here. I'm going to randomly pick Evernote, for instance. If I, as an administrator, would like to configure single sign-on for Evernote, I need to give in, pick the suite right here. So the application name that I'm going to pick is Evernote SSO, for instance. All right. I can assign it to a particular policy. So let's say only the marketing users make use of Evernote. So only that particular policy requires access to this particular application. That can also be achieved. So you can provide access to applications based on self-service policies that you have customized. And to enable single sign-on for this particular application, it's pretty straightforward. You simply need to enter the domain name right here. But on the service provider side, which is Evernote in this particular case, you require certain details. This could be an entity ID, the login and logout URL, authentication, certification, metadata, and you can make use of all the information that's listed right here to actually configure single sign-on in the application network. All right. But if you have trouble trying to understand what you need to do, we have a dedicated help document for each and every application, pre-configured application that is available. So once I hit help, I'm redirected to this particular page where the service provider configuration steps are listed. What you need to do, how you can kickstart single sign-on access for a particular application. The identity provider steps are also identity provider configuration steps are also available in this particular document. But for the application we picked today, it's pretty straightforward, right? So all you need to do is key in the domain and you are good to go. But for the service provider configuration steps, it varies based on applications. So we also have a pictorial representation of how you can get started and configure single sign-on for different applications. If you do have a custom application in your organization that you need help with, or an application that's available in the list right here, and if you run into a dead end or trouble configuring it for users or user groups, please write to me and I would be more than happy to help you set it up. But what I'm going to do today is walk you through single sign-on SSO for G Suite. Once again, just to make it easy, I have pre-configured SAML single sign-on. But for G Suite, it's extremely easy to set up single sign-on. All I need to do is give in my domain name, which I have, and check this particular box, which is enable single sign-on. This is literally all I need to do in the identity provider end. But in terms of service provider, there are certain details that I need to map in the administrative console of this particular domain that I'm working with. So what I've done is I have logged in as an administrator. Once again, I do want to talk about the security perspective of some things that I in particular showcast during this particular workshop series. Pretty much every single console, every single infrastructure that you see right here are test infrastructures. So in fact, the Google account that I have does not even have a subscription. Let me be honest. So the reason I'm insisting on this, the reason I'm reiterating this is because I am not compromising the security of my network, my organization, ADSelfService Plus, by showing you all this. And this holds good for anybody. So it's important for you to ensure that these details are safeguarded, these details are protected, because it's cyber attacks are on the rise. So it's easy for a hacker, a malicious insider to understand how this particular mechanism works and try to come up with a hack to crack into a particular user identity or a particular application. So it's very, very important for you to pay attention to single sign-on applications when it comes to security. That said, all I need to do is key in the login, logout URL and download the certification, right? That is what I've done. So for Google, I've logged into this particular test domain that I'm working with. Once I click on security, which I have, I need to navigate to single sign-on with third-party identity provider. In this particular case, the third-party identity provider is ADSelfService Plus. I want you to notice that I've keyed in the sign-in URL, the sign-out URL, checked this particular box, uploaded the certificate, the X509 certificate. I've also entered the change password URL for ease. All right, all this data is available right here. All the information that you need for setting it up is available right here. And I've already saved this. I've also tested it out just to make it easy for today's session. So let's see how this works in action. All right, I'm going to jump to Log tab. I am going to access my Google account. But yes, before I do that, I am going to close this and show you that this particular application, G Suite Single Sign-On, has been assigned to two policies, the administrators and the marketing policy. I'm going to log in as a marketing user today. We logged in as an administrator yesterday, so I'm going to log in as Adam today to this particular domain directly from my G Suite account. I click on Adam Levine. Let's see what happens. I'm redirected to the ADSelfService Plus page. So by default, the administrative console is available, but you can choose to disable the admin page. You can customize ADSelfService Plus to look like an organization's application. I'm keying in the first factor of authentication for this particular user. I have reset the password. I did that yesterday. If I remember this right, I reset the password yesterday. So I do have access to log into my self-service portal. I need to verify my identity with one of the two authenticators. I'm going to keep it simple and continue with security question answer. Once again, it is not a recommended authenticator. I am definitely not recommending security question answer as the only authenticator that you use for users in your organization, because my favorite color or the country that I dream of vacationing in is an easy guesswork, right? There are, if my geography is strong, there are about 150 countries globally, I believe. It's extremely easy to work with permutations to crack this. So do not recommend it at all. But that said, you can use it as one of the many factors of authentication across different checkpoints. I have security question answers simply for the ease of it. Once again, to insist that it's not a recommended authenticator, I have deliberately enabled security question answers across different checkpoints. But that said, on successful user identity verification, with not one but two factors of authentication, I am then able to log in and access my G Suite. And this is because I have single sign-on enabled. So what's happening essentially here, what's happening essentially here is that I am able to verify my identity using AD authentication. And then since the ADSelfService Plus multi-factor authentication is enforced for a single sign-on application, I am able to verify my identity with against the ADSelfService Plus server authentication with MFA that has been enabled for this particular user before I get access to my application. So there are two ways in which you can approach this. One is you can make use of AD authentication and AD authentication to log in and access cloud applications. That is number one. Two is you can also choose to enable single sign-on simply for a security check and introduce multi-factor authentication for these single sign-on applications. So you can approach single sign-on feature of ADSelfService Plus in two ways. One, you can make use of an existing authentication mechanism to log in and access log in and access the applications, or you can choose to make use of ADSelfService Plus for additional security by introducing multi-factor authentication for these applications. All right, pretty straightforward, extremely easy to use. But what I'm also going to do now is log into ADSelfService Plus directly as an end user. I'm going to continue to log in as Adam. This is the domain for the particular user that I'm working with today. I'm going to repeat what I just did, but this time I'm not trying to get access to my G Suite. I'm simply trying to log in as Adam into ADSelfService Plus. I can choose to trust the browser with multi-factor authentication by simply verifying user identity. Once again, the only reason I've not done that is because I use the same machine, the same infrastructure across different applications. I click on continue, and this time, once I am logged into the ADSelfService Plus end user portal, waiting for the page to load, stick with me. I can jump to the applications tab right here and access my G Suite right from my self-service portal for this particular user, right? I simply click to log in and access my G Suite. If you're wondering how the account linking worked, if that is a question in the back of your mind. How was ADSelfService Plus successfully able to map a particular user, a user's property or a user to the right account, to the right domain, to the right account format? If that question is there in the back of your mind, I'm going to walk you through the advanced configuration for G Suite SSO. By default, automatic account linking is enabled, and by default, the source and target attributes are predefined. But if you have a different naming format, if you have a different email format that you follow in your organization, or if you have a custom attribute that you would like to use as the source attribute and another attribute that you'd like to use as the target attribute, you are free to customize automatic account linking with the listed attributes. If not, if you do not follow a standardization in terms of email account mapping, you can simply disable automatic account linking for different applications. So in that particular case, user on logging into their application, on logging into their ADSelfService Plus portal will have to manually link accounts for different applications. All right. I also want to show you that we have multiple policies that we're working with today, but the single sign-on access is restricted to 2 policies. This is also extremely important when you are trying to establish zero trust on an organization level. You can choose to selectively provide access to applications without working with a one-size-fits-all, because somebody working in sales does not require access to your Zendesk, right? As straightforward as that is, you also need not provide access to these user accounts to these applications. So simply deny access, customize access to applications right here from within ADSelfService Plus. I am going to do a very quick recap of all that we saw so far before I proceed further with the second half of today's session. You can allow users to automatically log into cloud applications without manually entering their credentials every single time. What basically this means is that AD can be used as an authentication source to log in and access applications right from the end user's ADSelfService Plus portal. Users can definitely also work with multi-factor authentication for additional security while logging in and accessing these cloud applications. The reason why I did not cover MFA for single sign-on applications yesterday is because I wanted to walk you through the same today. That said, you can also control access to single sign-on applications based on OUs and groups present in the Active Directory. And this can be customized based on OUs and groups granularly based on an OU level or a group level, but across multiple domains on a forest level as well. Work with different combinations, work based on organizational roles, departments, offices, geographical locations, compliance mandates. Self-service policies are customizable based on how things work in your organization, how you would like to group users in your organization. All right. That said, I'm going to now walk you through how you can automatically link Active Directory with accounts like M365, Salesforce, Google Workspace, etc. for password synchronization and many other enterprise applications, but for password synchronization. And these password sync changes are reflected real time. And I will be walking you through the AD and Office 365 sync today. One of my favorite modules, once again, extremely easy to use, super easy to configure. And that is why I have picked the password sync for Office 365 today. But talking about password synchronization, once again, we support password sync for 18 applications. If you would like to customize password sync for ServiceNow, for instance, and you have issues configuring or setting up ServiceNow password sync, you can choose to access the help document to help you set it up for users in your organization. All right. Perfect. I have set it up for G Suite. I'm sorry, I've set it up for Office 365 today. I gotta go back. All right, I'm going to click on edit. Once again, like I mentioned earlier, password sync is extremely simple to configure, especially for Office 365, where literally all I need to do is enter the domain name that I'm working with, authenticate with administrative credentials, and I am good to go. I am also going to choose to quickly copy this because I do not want to type it all out. The account mapping once again happens the exact same way. Automatic account linking is enabled. So here the source attribute remains the same. It is the SAM account name, whereas the target attribute for M365 is user principal name appended with the respective domain. So if you do not have a standardization in the attributes that you use or the naming format, you can choose to simply disable automatic account linking. I am not going to do that for now because I am going to perform a live password reset once again. Before I do that, I do want to quickly show you that I have enabled multi-factor authentication for the reset and account unlock process. With 2 factors of authentication, I've enabled multiple authenticators, but set Microsoft Authenticator as mandatory. All right. I believe we're good to go. Let me hit change a password. Pretend to be this user who does not remember their old password. So I'm going to hit reset password or account unlock. I am going to enter the domain name of the user Sharada, click reset password. Entering my username, the domain is correct. Entering the captcha, I click on continue. My first factor of authentication will be triggered, the mandatory authenticator in this particular case. So quickly accessing my mobile device, I have pre-configured the Microsoft Authenticator. Since I use an iPhone as my official device, I have Face ID enabled as well. So that is another additional factor of authentication for user identity verification. I've entered my code, I click on continue, and on successful user identity verification with Microsoft Authenticator, I'm then redirected to this particular page. I'm once again going to stick to security question answers. We went through Google Authenticator yesterday when we performed a live password reset. Today, I am going to go ahead with security question and answer. Click on continue. Yes, and I am now redirected to the ADSelfService Plus page. I believe I have a question. So before I proceed with the password reset, I'm going to quickly take time to answer that question. Would a password reset option to ADSelfService Plus work for users that are connected, that are remote and not connected through a VPN? The short answer to this is yes, but what you need to worry about is updating your cache. And the only way you can update cache is with the help of a VPN. So what you can do alternatively is choose to host ADSelfService Plus on the internet. Thereby, a successful password reset will take place, and the application will also ensure that with the help of an internet connection, it is updating the cache that is available in the user's machine against the ADSelfService Plus, I'm sorry, the AD server, the Active Directory server, the on-premises server. The issue with remote user password reset, the only issue, in fact, with remote user password reset that you need to worry about is update of cache credential. So if the cache in the user's local machine does not match with the AD server, login will basically fail. So ADSelfService Plus definitely allows you to successfully reset passwords, but with a VPN, you're also you don't have to worry about cache credential update. Is this the only possibility? Unfortunately, yes. Microsoft does not allow any other means in which the user's cache can be updated in the local machine. So it's important to have a VPN to have a seamless password reset process and an update of cache credential as well. I hope that answers your question, Paul. Thank you so much. Jumping back, sorry about that. Jumping back to the Gina CP screen, I am going to actually perform a live password reset and synchronize it with my Office 365 account. I hope I'm able to do this securely by meeting the custom granular password policy. But more importantly, I also want to ensure that the password that I set is synchronized successfully for both on-prem infrastructure, my cache, as well as my Azure account in this particular case. So just a couple of seconds before a successful password reset, and we'll put it to test. We'll see if this actually works. This particular infrastructure is not something that I need to be worried about because I've directly taken a remote desktop connection through a secure VPN, and I'm working on a server level. So typically this is an ideal scenario, right? But when you have user accounts in your organization working from different parts of the country, users who you do not want to give remote desktop access to, which is fair, understandable, and extremely important, it's not advisable to give RDP access to every single user in the organization. It's easier to configure a VPN for password resets, and you can achieve that by from within ADSelfService Plus itself. I will walk you through how you can enable VPN for cache credential update before I wrap up today's session. So stick with me. I hope I can throw some more light into that part of today's session. Sorry about the delay. It usually does not take this long, but yes, a successful password reset. So not only have I been able to verify my identity with multi-factor authentication, I'm also able to take care of my own password reset for AD Office 365. I can choose to synchronize passwords. I can also choose to individually reset passwords for specific business applications, but most importantly, do it securely with a custom granular password policy. So not only is my on-premises infrastructure secure, the passwords for my cloud and on-prem applications are also taken care of. But yes, like I said, let's put this to test. I will start by taking an RDP. Let me quickly sign out. All right. Remote desktop connection, trying to connect to the user Sharda's machine. There we go. I hit connect. I'm keying in the password that I just reset. I hope that is the right password. Many times I tend to get confused with passwords of multiple users that I work with for the workshops and webinars. I try not to standardize one single password for all users. So I hope my memory served me well. Looks like it. I am redirected to the ADSelfService Plus console where I need to verify my identity with additional authenticators. And this is because I have enabled endpoint authentication. So if you wondered what happens when I try to bypass one or many authenticators that have been enabled for a particular user, I will simply be restricted access to the machine, in this particular case, a Windows machine, but this holds good for VPNs, RDPs. This holds good for Mac and Linux systems as well, application as well. And that is the advantage of multi-factor authentication. It's important to verify user identity with multiple factors of authentication. Also a great security practice to have for the entire organization. But that said, now that we do know for a fact that the password reset has been successful, the cache has been updated, I have been able to access the RDP, I am going to try and log into my Microsoft account. Once again, it's a test account, but it's a shared account. So I have enabled multi-factor authentication individually for the Microsoft account we'll be trying to log into today. All right. The account is automatically detected, which is fantastic. I'm keying in the password that we just reset and synchronized. My verification is through, but for additional security, I have enabled MFA from within my Azure account, my M365 account. So I am going to enter the code that I have right here, verifying my identity yet again. So that's two factors of authentication. One is the password that was synchronized with native AD. Second is an SMS-based verification code, after which I am able to access my Office 365 account. I'm going to choose to sign out and jump back. To the ADSelfService Plus console once again. So we were able to we were able to successfully reset password for the native infrastructure as well as our cloud application. I have taken one single example today, but that said, if you have other applications for which you would like to enable password sync or single sign-on, there is a dedicated help document with stepwise instruction and pictorial representation for all the applications that are available, pre-configured applications that are available for you to configure. So jump to Know Your Product, Configuration tab, Self-Service, Password Sync and Single Sign-On. Pick the module, pick the application, and you are good to go. So if you'd like to synchronize passwords across AD domains, you can choose to do that as well. So I will leave that to you. If you have questions, if you run into trouble, you know who to write to. But before I wrap up this session, this is the last part of today's session that I do want to talk about. That is the reporting tab. So like I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite reports of all time is the user attempt audit report. So today I will show you that the user attempt audit report right here has registered logon attempts for reset passwords, for manual logons, for single sign-on logons as well. All right, these are live actionable reports. I will be able to filter out these reports, customize these reports. I will also be able to export them, experiencing a bit of a lag once again. I will be able to export them. I will be able to, periodically keep a tab on these reports as well. Keep a tab on user identity verification failures. We also have a dedicated report for the same. Once again, a critical report, a great security report that you can have. But I did want to walk you through the reset password audit report. We have performed multiple password resets for the user Sharada. All these are tagged, but when I click on more, I want you to notice that the password reset for Office 365, M365 is also registered right here. So a successful password reset for both AD and Office 365 is registered. So you can keep a tab on all the password management actions that you have delegated to users in your organization right here within the audit report console, right? Once again, I will let you explore all the reports individually, but One question that we received today was around synchronization of passwords with your cache credential update. So under configuration tab, under administrative tools, you will find Gina Mac Linux. This is where the updating cache credentials for over VPN is available. Once again, you simply need to enable the VPN settings, configure your VPN. All right. We also support custom VPN, if I remember that right. Yes, we do. So enter the details based on the VPN that you have in your organization and you are good to go. So what a VPN network, VPN tunneling basically helps you do is not only allow users to have a successful password reset, but verify the cache password and update it in the local user's machine. And this is where VPN is extremely important. You will be able to enable VPN from within ADSelfService Plus for cache credential update. You can also choose to host ADSelfService Plus on the internet. All right. That said, I have come to the end of today's session. Once again, single sign-on and password synchronization are easy to configure. We support multiple applications, but if you do have a particular application in mind that's not in the list and you have trouble setting it up for users in your organization, please feel free to drop in a mail to me. I'd be more than happy to help you out. You can also reach out to our team of experts who work 24/5. We call them the support team. They are available throughout the day, 24 hours, and they are quick on their feet and help resolve issues right away. So if you have trouble, you can always choose to reach out to our support team at support@adselfserviceplus.com.